Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Brian's Horror Corner, or welcome if you are new to my channel. Glad to have you here. So, let me ask you a question. What insect do you think of when you think about summer? Since we're doing a summer horror movie review series, what insect comes to mind? It's a very small insect, and there can be millions of them. And of course, I'm talking about the movie that we're going to take a look at today from 1977, and that is Ants. That's right, Ants, the horror movie, the made-for-TV horror movie from 1977. So that's the movie we're going to take a look at and review today as part of my summer horror movie series. So let's just go ahead and get into it. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of ants. I mean, I'm not scared of them, obviously, like I would be snakes or spiders. I'm not really scared of those either, but those tend to be more intimidating. Um, Rats and snakes are the two that I'd rather not ever run into. Um, like I guess it depends on what kind of snakes. I'm going off on a tangent now. Um, but ants is one of those things that from the time I was a kid, I hated them. They're just annoying. They're gross. I remember having a can of soda when I was a kid in the summertime when it was hot, setting it down and then picking it up and drinking it and realizing, oh, there's more than soda in here. There's some small insects that are in my mouth now as ants would crawl in there. So, yeah, never been a big fan of ants. So I was interested in checking out this movie. But anyway, Ants, or It Happened at Lakewood Manor, is actually the title of the movie, which is also known as Ants. That's what I'm going to go by, or Panic at Lakewood Manor. It's also known as. It's a 1977 American made for television horror film starring Linda Day George, Suzanne Summers, uh, Myrna Loy, Brian Dennehy, and Bernie Casey. It was directed by Robert Scherer and premiered on December 2nd, 1977 on ABC. So yeah, made for TV movie. So the movie opens. So during construction at the old hard pressed Lakewood Hotel, two workers stumble upon a swarm of ants in a closed section of the building. After discovering the ants to be unusually aggressive and dangerous, the workers attempt to get the warning out, but they are accidentally buried alive. Shortly after, the unscrupulous real estate magnate Anthony Fleming and his partner and mistress Gloria, played by Suzanne Summers, by the way, arrives at the hotel to haggle with the elderly proprietor Ethel Adams and her daughter Valerie as they pursue plans to convert Lakewood into a casino. In the meantime, foreman Mike Carr, who is in a relationship with Valerie, and his co-worker and friend Vince find two missing workers dead from poisoning. The ants begin to emerge, attacking a boy, then killing a hotel cook and nearly killing Vince as he and Mike investigate the pit in which the men were buried. So yeah, that's the setup and the premise, the beginning of Ants from 1977. As far as the cast goes, we have a good one here, in my opinion, especially for a TV movie. Robert Foxworth as Mike Carr, Linda Day George as Valerie Adams, Gerald Gordon as Anthony Fleming, Bernie Casey as Vince, Barry Van Dyke as Richard Cyril, Karen Lamb as Linda Howard, Myrna Loy as Ethel Adams, Anita Gillette as Peggy Kenter, Steve Franken as Lionel White, Brian Dennehy as Fire Chief, Suzanne Summers as Gloria Henderson, and Bruce French as Tom. So yeah, that's to set up the premise and the large cast for the 1977 made-for-TV movie Ants, or It Happened at Lakewood Manor, if you will. I enjoyed this movie. For a made-for-TV movie, you kind of have to go in with tapered expectations for a horror movie, obviously. And going in with knowing that it was made for TV, those expectations were met for me. So let's just go ahead and get into the movie Ants from 1977, my review of it. So, starting with the pros or the things I liked about the movie, I think the movie does a really good job of making you feel it, like you're in the movie, like you're in these characters' shoes, experiencing being surrounded by by ants crawling all over you, feeling the claustrophobia and just the overall ickiness of it. And the movie does that through music, through the score, through the camera work and cinematography, through the characters and the performances. just kind of everything about it. It does a really good job of making you feel the ickiness and the claustrophobia and um, feeling that these ants that you're somehow in it. You're in it to win it. No, not to win it, but you're in it to escape, basically. The final 15 or 20 minutes of the movie I thought were really intense and engaging. As the surviving characters have to allow these ants to crawl all over them, basically, without moving or breathing on them. And just the way they do it from the camera work and how they shoot it, the music once again, the score, the performances by these characters. It's very tension filled ending to this movie, frankly, and I was into it. I like most of the main characters in the movie, like Mike, who's played by Robert Foxworth. I thought he was the best character in the movie, sort of the quintessential late '70s, early '80s hero for a movie like this. He's got the white perm going on and the beard. I thought he did a great job. That was the character I was most engaged in, which I think is going to be easy for anybody to agree with. So I liked him. You got Valerie, played by the great Linda Day George, who's in a lot of other horror movies, of course, from the late '70s, early '80s. Richard, um, played by Barry Van Dyke. Linda, played by Karen Lamb, and Vince, played by uh, there's so many characters, I have to find them all. Played by Bernie Casey. Those characters I tended to enjoy the most, and I think it's because those are characters that had more to do in this movie, and I thought they were also, as a result, acted well, performed well, especially for a made-for-TV movie. But I felt the characters were relatable overall, um, especially for the situation that they're put in. It didn't seem unrealistic, or they seemed like real characters. Um, and yeah, like I said, they were given the most to do as far as characters in this movie. Um, Especially, like I said, Mike Carr, played by Robert Foxworth, as our sort of main hero. I feel like the best part of this movie is when it focuses specifically on these ants, whether it's a close up of a few ants, like 10 or 20, or like a pulled back panning kind of shot of thousands, if not millions, of ants that are crawling on the walls, on the floor, on the pool deck, all over. That's really what helps you feel this movie. And I think they do a really good job with the camera work, the tricks that they use, because obviously this was way before CGI, which now, if you got an Ants movie, it would be all CGI, I'm sure, which would really, in my opinion, ruin it. I'm not a big fan of CGI if you follow my other reviews or my channel. But yeah, just that camera work really makes this movie, in my opinion, and how they focus on these ants. Um, it's gross. That's because they do a good job with it. How the ants or the narrative of the story evolved, starting out as a bunch a bunch of them in a construction pit, to the whole mystery surrounding what's happening to people that are dying in the first two-thirds of the movie, to the very end of the movie, where it's literally the ants are on attack and taking over, and our human characters have to try to survive before they can be rescued. So the movie does a really good job with that narrative through line, I think, as far as where we start from and where it ends up. Where it starts out kind of like I don't want to say small, because there's still a lot of ants in this pit, but it starts out as a small problem for these construction workers and ends up being where, like, the whole town is involved, the fire department, the police force, the hotel, everybody involved, it gets involved in this by the end of the movie. And sort of, like I said, the mystery of the characters trying to learn what's going on, and they think it's a virus early on in the movie that's causing these people to die when they take them to the hospital, and the doctors can't quite figure it out. So that whole part of the movie, that whole narrative and how it's presented and constructed, I really enjoyed, and I think they do a really good job with that again, especially for a made-for-TV movie. Good stuff. Great camera work and how they show the ants up close. I mentioned this before. Um, the panning out and showing massive amounts of ants that there are, very effective in terms of creating the atmosphere and the engagement that a viewer has in this movie, I feel like. Um, let's see. Yeah, so those are my pros. Also, I'm going to mention the score. I've already mentioned it, but I think it's a really effective made for TV movie score. It's almost like the score is, it's almost like it's in lockstep with the ants on attack, if you will. A very kind of unnerving score that goes along with the ants marching and stuff. So really, that's another pro I wanted to add. As far as cons go, the movie does have a bit too much going on in terms of all these different plot lines that it tries to set up early in the movie, where you have this Anthony Fleming character and Suzanne Summers character of Gloria Henderson, who are coming in to try to take over and buy this hotel and turn it into a casino. You have these other characters, Linda, um, and is it Richard or the like the young bulky guy who's an employee of the hotel here. I think it's Anthony Fleming, played by Gerald Gordon. But you're introduced to them, and a lot of these plot lines, yes, they all converge to where these people are involved with the ant attack, but it just feels like they try to set up too much, and they don't really need to in terms of different plot lines and characters. There's a lot of characters in this movie. I didn't even list them all in the cast there. It just felt like the movie didn't need that much. It was unnecessary. It ends up being a bit of a jumbled mess as we're trying to get into this movie as a result. And I think it could have been avoided just by cutting the amount of characters down and the storylines down as well. Although I understand that you have to get characters to come into this setting so that they can all be involved in this attack. But I don't know. I just thought they could have done better with that. It is a made for TV movie. So, as I said at the beginning of this review, you're not going to see any gore, blood, nudity, bad language, etc. You just kind of have to keep your expectations at bay, knowing that it's a made for TV horror movie. I did, and like I said, it met those expectations because they weren't super high, knowing that it was made for TV. So just kind of know that going in. And then my final con is it does have some tropey characters like Tom, who's sort of the scientist, that more or less the exposition character that kind of tells us everything we need to know about the ants, what they're doing, why they're doing it from a scientific standpoint. And then we have Anthony Fleming's character, who's of course the douchebag. He only cares about money and making money, doesn't care about people. They were both just kind of there for those specific reasons. Kind of pointless with some of the characters, and they didn't really. Same with Suzanne Summers' character. It's good to see her in this movie. Rest in peace, by the way, to Suzanne Summers. But her character of Gloria Henderson's just kind of there. She's just kind of there to have like a bed scene, which is probably the most well-known scene that she's in. But she doesn't really have much to do in this movie, so that's another kind of negative too. But I don't know, guys. Overall, I thought Ants was an enjoyable movie, especially when you consider that it's a made-for-TV movie. What they did with it, they took a premise that seems kind of ridiculous, that Ants is a horror movie premise. Come on, but they actually make it, as I said in my review, they actually make it creepy. They make it gross, and they make it effective through the camera work, through the characters, for the most part, the performances and the directing that were given here, along with the score. It's very well done, especially for a made for TV movie. So I'm going to give Ants a 7.5 out of 10 for Ants from 1977, or It Happened at Lakewood Manor. So go ahead and comment down below if you guys have seen this movie before. Ants. Do you like it? Do you not? Why not? Please comment down below. Please like this video, hit the little notification bell, and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my upcoming reviews for this series or any of my other great horror content that I have coming out throughout the rest of the year starting in September. So, with that being said, I'm glad to have this movie in my collection. I would recommend at least a one-time watch for it. It might not be for everybody, but I think it's enjoyable and well done for what it is. And so yeah, check it out. So with that being said, I hope everybody's doing well, and as always, stay scared. Bye.